Hello everyone. I mean, I'm wearing this. It's not actually that cold, although the wind was a bit chilly earlier. But I'm wearing this in obviously homage to Paul Warne, who has a much better bobble hat than me. But I thought I would wear it anyway. Welcome to Carrow Road. It's relatively warm. It's been a very good day for Norwich City. All in Carrow, we've had bad days or tricky days. Actually, not many bad days really. Tricky days. Today was a very good day. Not really because of what happened here, to be honest. Norwich have beaten Rotherham United 1-0. Rotherham were good. They picked their moments as to when to press. They gave Norwich things to really consider at the back. And they sat in quite deep and quite compact, and didn't give Norwich a lot of space at times. Norwich were. I think this was very much so a performance about how good Norwich were, because Norwich did exude enough control of the game to move the ball really well. They did create a lot of really good chances. They picked their moments when they could turn Rotherham around. And I thought they were just a pleasure to watch, especially in the first half. I thought they were absolutely outstanding. And they did look a class apart. And I don't really think that was through Rotherham's lack of adventure or anything like that. Possibly their lack of quality, but you know, Paul Warne, obviously, we know he's a Norwich fan. We know all the things that come along with that. But, he is kind of trying to keep it side up in the Championship with kind of the same limitations that any Norwich manager tends to face in the Premier League. So to come away with a 1-0 defeat, no one wants to be patronised. And likewise, they've got some really big games coming up if they want to stay in the division, which I really obviously hope they do. But they're awkward, and they've got players who can cause problems, and but for one Max Aaron's block in the second half, which in fairness was a prime opportunity for Rotherham, and there weren't many of them, but for that block it might have ended up 1-1, and then the whole game switches in terms of its dynamic on that one moment. Other than that, Norwich did seem relatively calm. Whether they could have just gone through the gears if it had gone back to being level, I don't know. They certainly had a lot of great chances in the first half. But the goal was really worked and sort of set Norwich on their way to being relatively comfortable. That there's a different dynamic to them this year compared to 2 years ago. They do feel comfortable, that they have the defensive strength at the back to see a game out, to be brutally honest, and to keep someone at arm's length. Which I guess points to the fact that there maybe is a feeling either that the Championship isn't as strong, or Norwich have a greater degree of quality. They're not going behind, they're not having to recover games late on as often. Certainly the last few weeks they've really hit a really good rhythm against teams that are struggling in the division, of course. And it has to be said, the Swansea game wasn't that long ago. But they did do it as well today without Ben Gibson, who felt his back in the morning, couldn't do anything in the warm-up because he was going to be on the bench, so didn't even appear in the warm-up, which is why Andrew Omobamidele ended up in the squad today. Hopefully that clears itself up come Tuesday, because Norwich are back at St Andrews to face Birmingham. Yeah, hopefully that's all right. But that said, Christoph Zimmermann did perfectly well today. He did really well. I think maybe one or two moments where there was a slight bit of rustiness, and especially when you're being pressed. But you can appreciate that. It's been a while since Christoph's played properly, and I thought he was perfectly fine for the whole game, and probably once the rust was shaken off, he seemed to do well. It was a wonderful goal in the first half. It was a wonderful pass from Emi Buendia. It was a lovely clinical finish from Tim Pukki. And that will be the assist in the goal. But the one thing that won't come up in any of that is the just frankly wonderful, superb dummy from Todd Cantwell that just took two defenders out of it. And it was just a wonderful piece of football without actually touching the ball. And one day someone will come up with a stat that gives Todd Cantwell a degree of credit for that, because it was absolutely intrinsic. Here go the lights, intrinsic in the goal happening, and just wonderful. I have to say, a great moment on a day when Todd Cantwell was fantastic. I thought he was very good at Coventry, so it's not like he wasn't there. He was the same level again today, but what it is it's the start of good form, which I hope becomes consistency, because when he's gliding across the pitch with the ball like this, using it well, and also having the creative spark in the final third to create a chance, and also sometimes get on the end of them himself, he becomes a very complete attacking midfielder, and really good to watch. So great to see Todd play like that today. He's been doing it for a few games. Keep it going. I'm not going to mention his pink hat, but I just have. But you know, hey, look at my wobble hat. I literally cannot talk. So yeah, I think in truth, not much happened today. Obviously, the big points probably are what happened elsewhere. You know, Brentford lost 2-0 at Coventry before this game, so that was obviously a great boost for Norwich. And while this one was kicking off, obviously bear in mind, obviously Norwich won at Coventry in midweek. While this game was kicking off, Swansea went and lost 4-1. I don't actually know what the final score was in the end, but it was certainly 4-1 at one point. At Huddersfield, who had been really struggling and falling like a stone. So I don't know much about what happened there, other than the fact that Conor Hurahan equalised just before half time. So the key thing about that game is that from always having 2 games in hand where if they won them both they would go above Norwich, even if they win those 2 games now, Swansea, they would still be 2 points behind Norwich. And you factor into the fact that Brentford have really slipped up in recent games. Watford all of a sudden are level on points with Brentford, just behind on goal difference. I think I think Norwich is 7 points clear of those 2, and it's just a remarkably good position to be in at this stage. But I think I guess this is where the experience will really help Norwich, because I know that they can't stop. They've just got to keep going, and their points tally is the only thing they can really focus on. And I do believe they feel quite comfortable being out on front, so that all bodes quite well. Very late substitutions. Paul Warne had made all 5, and then we got into injury time, and Daniel Farke made 3. So he's obviously not too worried about resting people. Emi Buendia got a really heavy challenge from Hekwe, who, to be honest, should have been sent off. He should have been booked for an earlier challenge. The tackle on Emi wasn't particularly pleasant, but at worst it should have been a yellow. The refereeing performance was the complete opposite of the control Norwich were showing. It wasn't great. Tony Harrington. So that was a awkward moment that sort of went unpunished basically. And what we also had when the game was still 0-0, Robertson, I think it was, had the ball in the net, and from a corner. Rotherham were very good from their set pieces. It was a pretty quick whistle for a foul, apparently on Tim Krul. I've watched it several times. I don't know where there's a foul, I have to be honest, which kind of summed up his performance. I mean, it should have stood, to be really honest, from everything I've seen. I don't know why it didn't. And then later on, Ben Wiles hit the crossbar with a lovely strike. He was one of Rotherham's best players, I thought, today. Wonderful effort, and you never knew if something like that was going to turn things in their favour. On the flip side, though, I mean, Timo Pukki had several good chances that he couldn't quite turn on goal, and I thought Mario Vrancic was very good, and Norwich moved the ball around well and looked comfortable. We saw a lot of very good performances, as we have done. I thought Kenny McLean in the last 10 minutes was outstanding, and I thought Ollie Skip was very good for the entire 90 minutes. So we march on. I think I've done everyone a service that needs it there. As I said, it's Birmingham on Tuesday night. And Norwich just need to keep going, keep exuding the same control, keep basically winning games in the first half, because that will make life easy. Emi Buendia, that bad tackle from Ihekwe was a nasty one. He did hobble home on the pitch, and he had one of those boxes that suggested to me he's going to be treating the injury or the knock anyway. It looked quite bad when he did it. He did come on, and he was then moving fine, so I'm not too worried. But clearly him and Ben Gibson will be the major question marks maybe going into Tuesday. But hopefully he is okay. I think we hope Norwich keep doing what they're doing when we're back at St Andrews on Tuesday night. And hopefully Rotherham keep doing what they're doing and stay up, because Paul Warne deserves that for the fantastic job he's doing there. But here, Norwich City won. They remain top of the league. They've extended their lead. On to the next one. See you on Tuesday night.